Welcome to the class again. As in the previous video, we talked about the two patterns of sonnet. Today we will go through an Italian sonnet by Milton, which is titled as When the Assault Was Intended to the City. Well, as the very title of the sonnet suggests, it is not a love sonnet, as was the tradition of the times of Milton. His contemporaries and his predecessors also wrote sonnets on love theme generally. This particular sonnet is the 8th sonnet by Milton, which has political and historic overtones. To understand the poem fully or in its totality, we must know the historic and political circumstances in which it was written. In the 17th century, in the times of Milton, England was witnessing a civil turmoil in its political scenario. The English political system got divided into two parties in those times, which were the Whigs and the Tories. The Whigs were the parliamentarians who supported the leadership of Oliver Cromwell, and the Tories were the royalists who supported the kingship or the King Charles I. Milton was also a parliamentarian, a Whig, who was supporting the leadership of Oliver Cromwell in those times. The poem was written in 1642 during the English Civil War, when it was believed that an assault or an attack on London by Charles I was anticipated against the Whigs especially. As Milton was also a Whig, he apprehends the attack and he requests the army leaders to protect him and his neighbors and his defenseless city during the assault. As we can see, the beginning of the sonnet, as it begins, Captain or Colonel or Knight in arms, whose chance on these defenseless doors may seize, if ever deed of honor did please thee, guard them and him within, protect from harms. So Milton is requesting the army leaders, the captain, the colonel, the knight in arms, all these are the army designations, and he is requesting them to protect the defenseless doors and guard him and the people because they are defenseless during that assault. Well, again in the next stanza, he is offering a deal where he says, he can requite thee, for he knows the charms. So, which charms he is talking about? He is talking about the poetic charms, the charms of poetry that call fame on such gentle acts as these. So, poetic charms has the capacity of making people famous or immortal by immortalizing their name through their poetry. So, he says, and he can spread thy name over lands and seas, whatever clime the sun's bright circle warms. So, wherever the bright circle of sun goes, I will immortalize your name, I will make you famous through my poetry. If you save me, if you protect me and my city during this assault, which was anticipated by King's army. In the next stanza, Milton commemorates the legend of Alexander the Great, who told his soldiers to leave the home of the poet Pindar untouched during the assault on Athens. Alexander has had an special reverence for the Greek poet Pindar for his poetry also, and he told his soldiers to spare him and his house. So Milton, in a humorous tone, says, as he believes that like Pindar was spared by Alexander, he also requests and he also believes that he will be spared, he will be relieved by the king's army. So here he goes. Lift not thy spear against the Muse's bower. Muse's bower, the bower of the house of Muse, the house of the poet. The great Emathian conqueror. Who is the great Emathian conqueror here? The Alexander the Great. The great Emathian conqueror bid spare the house of Pindarus. Pindarus, the poet Pindar, the Greek poet Pindar. When temples and tower went to ground, when the very temple and tower and the whole city was destroyed, went to ground, and the repeated air of said Electra poet had the power to save the Athenian walls from ruin, bare. So again he is naming, he is remembering the another poet, the tragedian who wrote the said Electra, the tragedy Electra. So he is also remembering, along with Pindar, he is also remembering the Greek poet Sophocles, who wrote the poem Electra. So Sophocles was also saved by, protected by Alexander's army when the whole Athens was destroyed during the assault. So again, in the poem, Milton is requesting, Milton being a Whig, being a parliamentarian, is a kind of apprehended by the attack, and he says that because I know the poetic charms, I know the charms of immortalizing, I know the charms or the tricks of making making people famous for their gentle deeds. Please save me and my city during this assault by the king's army, and I will pay you the tribute by immortalizing your name. So the sonnet is a political sonnet, and as we look at its symmetry, we find that it is also a Miltonic sonnet, an Italian sonnet. Well, if you look at this rhyme scheme of the poem, we see that it follows the octave and the sestet, because in the very first lines we can see captain or colonel or knight in arms. So here arms, the first rhyme is A, whose chance on these defenseless doors may seize. Arms and seize, the same sound is being repeated. So the rhyme scheme is arms and seize is AA. If ever deed of honor did thee please. So again the sound is, that means again it is the same sound. So arms, seize, please is A is the rhyme scheme A is being repeated. A. Arms, seize, please. Guard them and him within protect from harm. So in the first 4 lines the rhyme scheme is the same, the pattern is same. So we'll name it as A. The first quatrain follows the rhyme scheme of A. And if we go to the second stanza, the second quatrain, he can requite thee for he knows the charms. So again it is following the rhyme scheme of the first quatrain. Charms, these, sees, warm. So the last syllable of the 4 lines is the same. Charms, these, sees, warm. So if you can see at the first quatrain and the second quatrain also, or if we call it a octave, if we look at the octave, the first 8 lines, the last syllable of the line is the same. So the rhyme scheme of the octave is A, because the rhyme scheme pattern which the lines are following are the same. Arms, as we can see in the first line, arms, in the second line, sees, in the third line, please, in the fourth line, harms, in the fifth line, charms, in the sixth line, these, in the seventh line, sees, and in the eighth line, worms. So, the rhyme scheme of the octave is A. Okay. And if you look at the sestate, lift not thy spear against the muse's bower, the great Amathian conqueror bid spare went to the ground, and the repeated air of said Electra's poet had the power to save the Athenian walls from ruin bare. So, if we can see the the sestate, it goes. Let's see how it goes. The last syllable of the line is bower. So, our. So, the rhyme scheme is here. The scheme is changing. So, we will give it the scheme B. We will give it the alphabet B. Okay, the sound B. So, bower is B. Spare is a different sound. Spare, air. So, we will name it C. Okay. Tower is similar to bower. So, again we will call it B. Okay. And air is similar to spare. So, we will call it C. Okay. And again power is similar to bower. So, we will call it B, and bear is similar to air. So, we will call it C. Okay. So, the rhyme scheme of the sestate is bower, tower, power is B, and spare, air, and bear is C. Okay. So, the rhyme scheme of the sestate is bower, B, spare, C, BC, BC. Okay. Because we are we can see the sound is alternate. Okay. Bower B, spare C, tower B, air C, power B, bear C. So, the rhyme scheme of the sestate is BC. So, the if you look at the poem, the rhyme scheme of the whole poem, the rhyme scheme of the sonnet is A, and in the sestate BC. Okay. So, enough for today. We will go through another sonnet in the next class. Thank you.